So, things just got really crazy really fast. Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is Mario for the season finale of Awkward, Season 4, Episode 21, Sprang Break Part 2. And I was definitely very looking forward to this episode because of the way last week's episode ended and because of how the season has been so far. I mean, I've definitely, as I said, been looking forward to Awkward a lot more lately, and this episode was very surprising. I did not expect this finale to be as big as it was, because it actually started out not that big at all, and I was surprised by all the crazy shit that ended up happening. I mean, so much happened on tonight's episode. Really, a lot happened here. You know, we had some pretty big things that happened. We had a huge twist that I did not see coming at all, and I love that they did this twist, because I thought it actually made the show a little bit stronger, made it more interesting, and I really liked they did what they did with it. And there were a lot of things that, you know, I honestly didn't think Awkward was going to go for shock value, but they didn't. And the cliffhanger they had for this episode I thought was perfect. I love the cliffhanger they had for this, because it really shows the development of the character we've been focusing on the most this season. And let's just get to it. The beginning of this episode, I don't know what was going... The beginning of this episode, I was not a fan of at all. I really was not. I was like, seriously, that's how we started. We see, like, Jenna, she, you know, Lissa's, like, talking to her about how her shorts are, like, a certain length, and she doesn't like them that way. And Jenna's like, oh, it's my tampon. I'm like, seriously, we're just going to start it like this? It reminded me very much of how the first episode of the season started with the whole orgasm thing. Luckily, that did not catch on for too long, which I was happy about, because that was just really stupid. I was not a fan of that at all. I personally just thought that was really dumb. I guess it's kind of funny, but, like, not really. I was not really a fan of that. But a lot of this episode focused on the core relationships of all of these characters, and I can't remember the order that everything went in, so I'm going to do my best to talk about what happened. So much happened, so I can't really remember everything. So if I do forget something, I'm sorry, guys, but we'll see what I can, you know, we'll see what I can do, basically. Let's get to the crazy stuff first. I'm gonna try to go non-crazy to crazy. I don't know, we'll see. Non-crazy to crazy, we'll see if I can do that. You know what, guys, I might just do something right now. Let's go to... Alright, guys, there's no recap, so I'm trying to think this all from my head. So what I'm doing is I'm literally going onto Solar Movie right now, and I'm seeing what happened after that scene, because I honestly don't remember, because so much happened in this episode. Now, I was completely into this episode, and as I said, by far best episode of this, if I didn't say it already, best episode of the season, because this episode was extremely crazy, and I love that it was crazy because of that, but, and again, it really did not start off as crazy as we thought it was going to. Basically, you know, Sadie and, Tamara are talking about how the whole thing with Jake did not work, and Sadie's catching up with Tamara about Sergio and how she got into college and everything. And, it was, interesting, it was interesting to hear about that and everything. And we basically see that, Jenna sees Matty and Gabby, who are going off to the beach with Matty's biological father, and Jenna pretty much doesn't give a shit anymore. She really doesn't care that Matty really cares about his biological father. She really doesn't care, because he shut the door on her, so as she said, she's shutting the door on him. She wanted nothing to do with him, and I was actually very happy that Jenna did that she just completely was like, you know what, I'm gonna abandon him. You know, he's not gonna talk to me. I'm not going to abandon him. You know, I'm going to abandon him, and I like that she did that, because, you know what, Jenna has a life. She needs to move on with her life, and I definitely really enjoyed that. I like that she basically is just ignoring them and doesn't really care what they're doing here. You can see that Gabby's still concerned, but, like, you can just tell that Jenna really doesn't care anymore. So, I thought that was very well done. Then we see Lissa and Theo and Cole, and they are trying to find her father. Her father has been released from the rehab he was in, and they're trying to find her father to find out where he was. I thought that was kind of funny what we saw there. I don't know. I don't really know what to say there. What I really liked about this episode was Matty and Jake. I gotta say, I am so happy what they did here. we got a lot of scenes with them tonight, and one of the things this, season has been showing a lot more of is Matty and Jake's friendship. They've shown that throughout the whole season, and I love that, because that's so, like, old school Awkward, and I love that Awkward is doing that, and I really love that they're showing more of their friendship, and it kind of shows that they're both kind of on the same path, Matty wants to have that friendship back with Jenna, but, he knows it's not going to work, and Jake wants to be with Tamara, but it's not going to work. It's really two people who are so, like, hung up on high school that they don't know, what exactly they want to do. So, I thought that was interesting that in the end, they ended up being the ones to, they ended up being the ones to, talk about that. So, then we go back to the beach, and I also love the conversation that Allie has with Sadie and Tamara, where she's like, come on, enjoy, it's a beach house, and Sadie's like, we're kind of like 20 miles away from the ocean. I love Sadie. I love when Sadie does those kind of lines. So, Jenna and Brian are getting a lot closer, and I was surprised by how close they got in this episode. But we find out that's actually been a few days since last week's episode. So we see that they're getting very close, and I like seeing that because I think Brian's a good guy for Jenna. He's kind of showing her that, you need to move on eventually, and that, he's a very mature guy for her. He knows the ways of college. Like, he's very good for her. He's a very good adversary to have, and I really like Brian because I like the chemistry between them. I think they're good together, and are they as good as, Jenna and Matty? Honestly, I'm over Jenna and Matty. And this episode makes you get over Jenna and Matty, which I really, really liked in my opinion. I thought that was definitely very good, and I definitely really enjoyed that. I thought that was great. So I really like that they're getting closer. Then we get to one of the biggest reveals of this episode, which I did not think was going to happen. I didn't even think of this happening. Kevin shows up at the beach house. And I was saying he just showed up because, Lacey wanted him there, and she didn't want him to, she didn't want to be alone. And he shows up, and he hears Lacey vomiting into the toilet, and Allie comes in, and we find out that Lacey's pregnant. So, I didn't think of this happening, and once again, I love that it's, again, an accident. I love that even though they tried, like, it's still an accident. I think that's hilarious that it's still an accident, and I found that to be very funny. And I love that, it's a very interesting twist that she's pregnant, but honestly, it does make sense because it makes sense as to where her arc has been this season. She didn't want Jenna to go away. She wanted to stay with Jenna, and now she doesn't have to because she has another child on the way to care for, and I'm wondering if she, if she's going to have as good a relationship with this child as she does with Jenna. I don't know, but I think it definitely is a good twist, and I like where they're heading with that. We'll talk more about that in a second. Let's get to one of the weirdest parts of this episode. I don't really want to talk too much about this because I thought this was weird. Will ends up saving up Val from, like, a shark attack, and she ends up, like, going into shock. I thought that was kind of funny. I like seeing the two of them get closer, definitely, what we saw there. I thought that was interesting. And Sadie talks to Sergio about how she thinks it's disgusting that Val's in a relationship. And you can tell that Sergio is tired of Sadie's quips. If you remember, he's tired of her being the mean girl. He said that to her, I don't want you to be the mean girl anymore. He said to her last week, if you want to be in this relationship with me, I don't want you to be the mean girl. So she's doing her best, but she, he tells her, I don't even know who you are anymore. Goodbye. And he's kind of sick of her. You can just tell that he's pretty sick of what she's doing. So I thought that was definitely very interesting what ended up happening there, and honestly, I personally thought that Sadie and Sergio were over because of that, but we'll get to that in a second. Matty ends up meeting back up with his father, Dan, or as his father wants to call him Dad, he calls him Dan. And we can see that Dan is not a good father at all. You can see that Matty wants to bond with him, but he's really not bonding with him very well at all. He thinks completely the wrong ideas. I did not like his ideas at all, what he was kind of thinking of. He even mentioned how he thought him and Gabby were soulmates. Like, what? I don't even know where he would get that from. I would have never, ever thought that. That doesn't make any sense at all. I was just like, that does not make any sense. So, you can see that Matty, it looks like he's bonding with him, but we actually find out his true opinion of his dad at the end of the episode, which I definitely want to talk about. Sadie and Tamara head to Sadie's party for her acceptance into college, and they're literally the only ones there. And Sadie feels like a complete fool because this is her party, and I like seeing Sadie kind of be upset over this. I thought that was well done, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Jenna introduces Tamara to Brian, and she also introduces Tamara to a new guy in her life, and this new guy is Adam. He is also in the military, and you can see right away that him and Tamara are clicking right away. And I love this. I love seeing Tamara so happy about a relationship. I mean, she hasn't been this happy about a relationship since Jake, and they meet for like 5 minutes, and I mean, it is kind of cheesy if you think about it, but I thought it was overall pretty funny. I definitely really enjoyed it. Sadie ends up meeting with this guy who's also at this bar and everything at the party, and he says to her how he actually likes that she's a mean girl, and compliments her for it, and says that's who she is and everything. And, she says that, she doesn't really get that a lot, and she's surprised that he is so happy that she is a mean girl, and I was surprised by that as well, because there are not many people that are happy that Sadie is, but I thought it was interesting that this was happening. I was wondering if these two were going to connect, but I'm really like, do I really want them to connect over Sadie and Sergio, who have such good chemistry, and I really like them together? No, I don't want to. So back to Kevin and Lacey. They are talking about how they're going to get through this together, and at least they know what they're doing. I like that Kevin really wants to help Lacey with this. Like, he's telling her, we're going to get through this, it's going to be okay, and I thought that was really, really good. I definitely really enjoyed that. So Tamara and Adam are talking, and you can see right away that they're getting close, but Tamara's, like, barely talking, which I thought was really funny, because Tamara's a chatterbox. And I love the line where he's like to her, are you usually this quiet? And she just nods her head like, yeah, I am. But no, she's not usually this quiet. She's just, like, completely, like, into him, that she's not Tamara. She's just, like, completely into him. And I thought that was hilarious that we saw that, because never would I ever have thought of Tamara being the quiet one. Never. I mean, she talks, like, what? A million miles a second, so I would have never thought of her being the quiet one. Yes, I talk a million miles a second, I know, but, still, I would have never thought of Tamara being the quiet one. I love that they wrote her that way in this episode. I thought that was definitely very funny, and I really thought that was great. So, Lissa ends up meeting up with her father, and I don't really remember what happened here, really. I know that she met up with her father, and he talked about how he, she's not sure if he's gay anymore or anything, but, I know something happened between, I don't remember exactly what happened between Lissa and her father, like the exact conversation they had, but, I guess that was good. I don't want to talk too much about that, because that was, like, my least favorite part of the episode, was just them meeting, I liked everything in the episode, but my least favorite part was the shark attack, and Lissa meeting up with her father. I really didn't care that much about that in this episode. I mean, I kinda did. I cared about it in the sense of what Lissa was going through. It's good development for her character, and, it works. I like the development of Lissa's character, and it looks like she's gonna stay this way. It looks like she's just gonna stay as, like, a goth chick, so if they want to write Lissa that way, I like that, because it's a very big change in her character, definitely, and it really shows how you always change your look, you always change the way you think about yourself, like, in your senior year. In your senior year, you change yourself and everything, and, Tamara's talking to Jenna about Adam and how he's, like, the best guy ever and everything, and then she reveals, like, a huge secret to her, and that is that her and Adam are engaged, and I was like, what? Like, you literally just met this guy 5 minutes ago. But she talks to Jenna, and she explains why, and I like her reasoning here. I thought this was good, because it makes sense why Tamara is doing this. It's sort of an advantage to her, and an advantage to Adam. It's sort of something for him to come home to. Something that he will enjoy while he's, in the military. And she says she knows that they're probably just going to date for a few months and eventually break up after that, but she wants to have something. She wants to have something for them to connect with, and I thought that was, very interesting that we saw that. I definitely really enjoyed that. So, Matty and Dan return from their fishing trip, and we can see that Gabby is just like, oh, it's fine, but she's not okay. That Gabby is just kind of annoyed by this. And he drops the hint that he thinks that they're as I said, he drops the hint that they're, like, soulmates, and Matty's looking at him like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I myself is like, soulmates? Like, these two don't have as much chemistry. They are not soulmates at all, and I cannot see these two ever being soulmates. Ever could I see them being soulmates. Never. Maybe in, like, a million, maybe, like, I don't know, but these two are not soulmates, okay? if anyone's soulmates, it's Matty and Jenna. I do not see these two being soulmates. Tamara and Adam have more chemistry than Gabby and Matty. Like, they have chemistry, but they just don't really click well as boyfriend and girlfriend. I've never really seen them as a couple. I haven't. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen them as a couple, and I like the show has written it that way because, really, again, this was all about Matty trying to get his mojo back and trying to be the ladies' man again. You know, that's really what that was all about. So Sadie talks to that guy one more time, and basically she realizes that she's been a complete, bitch to Sergio. But I love that she's like, I've been a complete bitch to him, he completely deserves it, but I gotta go. And I thought that was great, and I definitely really enjoyed that, that she said that to him. I enjoyed that. And then we get to what's probably the most surprising scene, and something that I really like that they did. We have a scene from two people who I don't think have ever had any interaction. And I always love when Awkward does this. They get two people that haven't had any interaction, and they then pair them together in a scene. I really like that they did this in this scene. Gabby and Jake talk, and they both talk about their losses. Gabby talks to Jake about his record label and how the video didn't work and everything. And he talks to her about Matty, and she says that she knows that her and Matty don't really have chemistry anymore. And he tells her their loss, and I'm like, why do these two have such amazing chemistry all of a sudden? Like, I personally would want these two together. You want to get anyone together? Get Jake and Gabby together. They are so good together. Am I the only person that, loves them together? They have one scene, but I think they work just perfect together, and I love what they did with those two. I love that they paired them in this scene, and what they decided to do with these two is amazing. I love what they decided to do with them, because I was not expecting that at all, and I'll get to what ends up happening, but it's really big, but I'll get to in a second. So that was very surprising when we saw that. I wasn't expecting them to have a scene together, but probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode. My favorite scene of the episode is the last scene, but Jenna goes to introduce Brian to Lacey and Kevin, and Lacey makes the announcement to her that she's pregnant. Jenna's obviously in shock. She's like, how did this happen again? But she is happy that she's going to be, a sister again and is there to care for Lacey. And it's good that this is happening because Lacey is no longer going to be going to Lockhart. And she really wanted to, but I think the thing is that Lacey doesn't really want to go there now because this was never about her wanting to, redo her, go to college again. This was about her not wanting to let Jenna go. That's what this was about. It was about her not wanting to let Jenna go and not wanting Jenna to grow up. That's really what this is about. And now she has a child, then she doesn't need to worry about that. So I really like seeing that. I thought that was very well done, and that was definitely one of my favorite scenes of the episode. I definitely really love that between Lacey and Jenna. I love the development between them this season. They've done a great job with that. Lacey goes to Sergio and tells him she doesn't want to say goodbye to him after she goes to college. She wants him to have a relationship, and it looks like they're officially together now, so I'm very happy about that. I love them together, and I'm wondering if he's actually going to finally change her. I'm wondering what's going to happen there, definitely. We'll have to see. Then we get to the really amazing stuff. Matty goes to confront Lacey about Jenna, and Lacey just tells him, look, you missed your chance, it's too late, she's moved on, and I like that Lacey says that to him, because he really did miss his chance. Jenna gave him a chance. She gave him many chances. He chose to move on to Gabby. He chose to not be with Jenna. He chose to not be with her and move on to Gabby and everything, and he chose to, basically say no to all of her. Think of all the times that Jenna wanted to be with Matty. She gave him many, many chances. She gave him more chances than she should have, probably. So, she's given him enough chances, and I like that Lacey says, look, your time is up. So, I really like that she says that to him, and I like how straight she is with Matty, especially because Lacey always seemed to be more of a friend to Matty than, a motherly figure. She seemed to always be more of a friend to Matty, and I like that she was, straight with him about that. I've never seen Lacey, so serious with Matty. Most times when Matty's over, Lacey's all giggly and everything, but she's realized that, hey, my daughter's moved on. She's not really into this guy anymore, so I don't need to be. And I like seeing that. I like seeing that Lacey has basically moved on. Lacey can see that Jenna's moved on, so therefore she's going to talk to Matty like an adult, because she's realizing, hey, this guy's an adult now. He's not a kid. I'm going to talk to him like an adult. And I really loved that scene together. And the way they did that scene was very well done. And you can see the development in Matty's character Out of any character this season, the one that's gotten the most development is Matty. Matty has gotten so much development this season, and I love that. I love the development that Matty has gotten. That's why this season has been split. That's why senior year has been split into two, because really this whole season has focused on Matty changing and things like that, and that really showed how much Matty has changed. I mean, we'll talk about that at the end, but Tamara talks with Adam, and we find out that Adam is actually not going to, where Brian's going. He's going to California. So he tells her that they're going to have more time together, and they're probably going to be able to get married. And Tamara's freaking out because she did not actually mean for this proposal to be a real thing. She only wanted this as a symbol of hope for him and things like that. So my question is she going to get out of this? I don't know. Tamara seems to hold on to relationships, but I don't really know if she's going to stick with this, considering they've only known each other for, like, what, a day? So I don't know if this is really going to work out for them, and I like this cliffhanger, and I think this is definitely a very good cliffhanger that I definitely really enjoy. And now let's get to the best scene of the episode, which I really want to talk about. Matty sees Jenna and Brian. Oh my god, there are too many guys in the show. Jenna and Brian getting closer, and he can see them, you know, making out and everything, and he's very jealous of them. And Jake comes up to him. Oh, one other huge thing we found out. So, remember how much I wanted Jake and Gabby together? They slept together. Jake and Gabby slept together. And I was so surprised that that happened. But at the same time, I wasn't. Because I'm like, are they going to, like, have sex or something? I honestly thought they were going to go into a relationship. But you can see the regret on Jake's face when he goes to talk to Matty. And I love this scene. Because there's no, like, this is a big cliffhanger in the sense of just dialogue, and I love that with Awkward. One of the things that Awkward does best is cliffhangers with dialogue. They don't do cliffhangers in the sense of something big. They do cliffhangers in the sense of dialogue. You know, Jake is like to Matty, I need to tell you something, and Matty says, tell me whatever you want because you are the only person I trust now. And when he finds out what Jake did, I don't know if he's going to trust Jake as much. However, knowing Matty, I don't think he's going to care because he says to Jake, I don't have any chemistry with Gabby. I've moved on from her. I don't work well with her. And I like that he says, my dad always says the opposite of what's true. And I thought that was interesting that he said that to Jake. And he says basically, go be with her. And I thought that was interesting that he said that to Jake because I'm like, okay, so Matty got into this relationship and everything. And then we see Jenna, and Jake asked what he's going to do about her, and Matty said, you know what, I had my chance, and my time's up. So I thought that was just a great way to end the episode. I thought that was a perfect way to end the season overall, and I'm wondering if Jake really is going to tell Matty. I don't know if he's going to, because I don't think Matty really cares at this point. I think Matty, honestly, could give two shits, really, because he doesn't really care if he did have sex with Gabby, because Matty doesn't have any chemistry with her, and he realized this, and that's basically how the season ends, and I gotta say, I love the way this season ended. I thought it was great. I was surprised by how much was going on in this episode. Like, this episode really just had so much going on in it, and I was surprised by the length of stuff that went on. I did not expect this episode to cover as much as it did. I expected this episode to have some stuff, definitely a lot of stuff, because it was a finale, but because this season has not been as big, and because the season has been more about just, like, moving on and just sort of, like, a fun season, for them to have, like, 5 cliffhangers, I was very surprised about. Let's talk about the season of Awkward in general. This season is not the best season. Season 3 is still the best season of Awkward. Just the way Season 3 was done was better. I still really like the season, but I can't forgive the first half of the season. The first half of the season was still not very good. The first half of the season is like the worst stuff Awkward has ever done. So, the first half of the season, I really can't forgive the show. But the show really did pick itself back up in the second half of this season. And it's probably the second best season of this show. The show really changed in the second half of the season. And I definitely love how much development we've given to these characters. How much time they spent on these characters. They've really done a great job of doing that this season. I definitely have really enjoyed that. Seeing that experience with these characters. And let's talk about what I think is going to happen now. As I said with Matty, I don't think he cares as much. Now, Tamara has to find a way to get herself out of this marriage. I don't know if she's going to. We'll see what she ends up doing. But, I don't know what's going to happen with Tamara. Sadie and Sergio, I really hope they stay together. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with Lacey as well. I forgot to talk one other thing with Val and Will. I can't believe I forgot about this. Val and Will are resigning from their teaching positions. They've decided that they don't want to be teachers anymore, and they just want to travel the world together. So Val's not going to be on the show anymore, I guess. I don't know. Maybe this is saying Val's not going to be on the show anymore. I could never picture this show without Val. I mean, Val's one of the funniest parts of the show. Yeah, she's kind of not as funny as she used to be, but I really can't see the show without Val. You gotta have Val included. I mean, come on. I can't really see the show happening without Val, but I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But the other thing that I love that Awkward did this season was really go back to the roots of the first few seasons. Really, that's what it did. It connected, it really focused on the characters. The first half of the season will focus on that whole, like, Eva drama, Amber, Eva drama and everything. The second half of the season focused on the characters and how much they've developed. You know, it took every character and developed them. Every single character, every single core character, at least the ones on this on the poster, have developed. Every single character has. And let's talk about how. Jenna developed in the sense that she really doesn't care about relationships anymore, and she cares more about her future, and really just wait and see what happens, and I really like that about Jenna. Tamara has developed in the sense that she is kind of more mature and things like that. That's really, Tamara's had the least development of anyone, which is fine, because she's always been a supporting character. Jake's developed in the sense that he's, you know, did the music and everything. Matty has developed the most, so as I said, of any character. Out of any character season, Matty's developed the most because he now knows that him and Jenna, they're not going to happen. He knows him and Gabby aren't going to happen. And we know that he wants to get into some sort of college. And I definitely want to see where they take this with Matty. I don't really know where they're heading, really. I don't know where we're going with this. I like where we ended it, but I don't know where we are heading with this because it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do there. Lissa has developed in the sense that she's a completely different character now. She's now not a religious person. She's now not a naive person. She's now just a very different character. Sadie, I think Sergio is going to try to get Sadie to be a less, you know, meaner person. Even though Sadie said she doesn't want to be, I think she's going to be. I think that's how they're going to end the show. I mean, we're getting to the final season next year, so I definitely want to see what happens there. And honestly, I'm happy the next season's final season because I don't want, as I said before, I don't want to see the show. I don't want to see these guys go to college. I don't. I want to see a quick 5-second scene with them going to college. Fine, that's fine. But I don't want to see them go to college. I don't want to see them do a season about college because I like them in high school. This show is supposed to be about the awkwardness of high school. And if you put them in college, it just does not work. It doesn't. It's that simple. It does not work if you put these guys in college. I don't want to see them do that. But overall, guys, I surprisingly love this finale. I was surprised by how much I love it because the first 5 minutes of the episode, I was kind of like, I don't know, this is kind of like not really impressing me. I mean, I'm going to be honest, the first few minutes of this episode I really was not that impressed with. The whole thing with Jenna and the tampon I thought was a really stupid way to open up the episode. The episode should have just started with Jenna seeing Gabby and Matty going to his father and had that whole thing cut out because that really just seemed very juvenile for Awkward. And I didn't know, but the whole episode itself was by far the best episode of the season. I love what they did. They developed the characters really well. It was a perfect finale, and I really love what they did with it. And honestly, this was a better finale than the mid-season finale. Mid-season finale had one good cliffhanger, and that really was it. So that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, what happened with Lissa and her father? I can't remember what happened. So if you guys can tell me what happened, I don't remember. So comment down below. Tell me what happened. And I'll talk about what I think of it in the comments. But I'll see you guys in my next video. And I'm happy that Awkward is over for the season. I'm happy that it is not the... I'm happy that the final season, they can say that it's the final season. I'm looking forward to seeing what they decide to do with the final season when it comes back in April, because I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I will see you guys in my next video, which is, guys, probably my next few videos, since there is literally nothing on TV for the next, like, 2 days. Nothing at all, except for, like, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Like, do you really want me to review the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade to you? I'm not gonna do that. There's gonna be tons of movie reviews, guys. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna be doing tons of movie reviews because I want to catch up on movies. I have more movies to watch. And I'm not seeing Mockingjay tomorrow. By the way, guys, there's gonna be a lot of reviews tomorrow because I do not have school tomorrow because there's like snow coming and things like that. But let me know what you guys saw of this finale overall. What do you think of the season of Awkward overall? I know some people kind of ditched Awkward in its first half because of how bad it was, but the second half I think they really picked itself up and really made itself a better show again. But let me know what you guys think of that. Do you guys agree with me? Again, guys, I don't watch Faking It, so if you guys want to compare it to Faking It, go ahead. I know people have said Faking It is better. I heard Faking It's not as good good now, though. So, I don't know. I might be wrong with that, but I don't know. Happy Land I heard is terrible, but I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for a movie review. So, I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.